Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and the biggest story right now in the world, because that's how the media works, it's all distraction, is Trump's impeachment. Now, spoiler alert, it'll go to the Senate and it probably won't get through and Trump will remain president. With that said, the biggest story you're hearing from all ends, the major distraction, the bread and circuses that's being thrown in people's faces, is that Trump has been, technically speaking, impeached by the Democrats. Now, I want to go into this article first because this is just a ridiculous story to begin with. I mean, first of all, I must note that I'm not against every president can be impeached. I'm not against Trump being impeached for maybe the Patriot Act or NDAA or, I don't know, vast spending, the Federal Reserve, communist printing of currency. I'm not against it for, gun seizing, as we see under the Trump administration. But for this reason, it's stupid and it's all just a game of politics using you as a pawns. It's ridiculous. I'm going to go into this article here as it says, Zero Hedge, House impeaches Trump for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. And as the article says, as was 100% expected, the House has voted to impeach President Trump for abuse of power, who joins Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton as the only presidents to be impeached since the adoption of the Constitution in 1788. And as it says, it all began just after midday with the following. Today, as Speaker of the House, I solemnly and sadly open the debate on the impeachment of the President of the United States, Speaker Nancy Pelosi said from the House floor shortly after noon. It is tragic that the president's reckless actions make impeachment necessary. He gave us no choice. And ended just over 8 hours later, droning on, as it says, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy closes. He is president today, he'll be president tomorrow, and he will be president when the impeachment is over. And then Representative Steny Hoyer of Democrat closes, all of us feel a sense of loyalty to a party. It's what makes our two-party system function, but party loyalty must have its limits. It has become increasingly clear that the limits of partisanship have been reached and passed. And the results after 219 speakers from both sides of the aisle today, as most expected, all Republicans voted against impeachment. All Democrats, except 3, voted for the first article of impeachment. Article 1, abuse of power, vote 230 in favor, 197 opposed, 1 present. And we'll go into that in a moment, the present. All Republicans voted against impeachment. All Democrats, except for 4, voted for the second article of impeachment. Article 2, obstruction, vote. And as it shows, 220 yes, 3 no, present 1. And no vote 9. And as it continues, Tulsi Gabbard voted present, while New Jersey Representative Jeff Van Drew, who's in the process of becoming a Republican, and Minnesota Representative Colin Peterson, who represents what's considered the country's most conservative Democratic district, both broke ranks and voted against impeachment. Now, I want to get into that Tulsi Gabbard part because this is just, I just kind of find it hilarious. As this article from NBC News says, Tulsi Gabbard is only lawmaker to vote present on Trump impeachment. The Democratic presidential candidate said she could not in good conscience vote for or against the articles. And I guess, look, I'm not a supporter of Tulsi Gabbard. I'm a voluntarist. I don't believe in any of this circus. But I think it's interesting that she calls it a circus, or basically insinuates that it's a circus, and it's caused Twitter far leftists to outrage. As you could see, one of the number one trends on Twitter is hashtag Tulsi Coward. And you could see this tweet from Sticks and Hammer 666 that says, the Tulsi Coward trend is the funniest juxtaposition of reality versus the perception of Twitter leftists. Took a lot more courage to tell the far left suicidally impeaching Trump despite the idea being wildly unpopular to naff off than it would to merely vote on partisan lines. And this has led to people once again calling Tulsi Gabbard a Russian plant and Donald Trump a Russian plant. And it's all too interesting because this didn't help at all. Vladimir Putin says Trump was impeached for made-up reasons. And of course, CNN really loves being able to come out with this article, as it says, Russian President Vladimir Putin said in his annual news conference Thursday that the U.S. President Donald Trump's impeachment was based on made-up reasons and expressed doubts that Trump will be removed from power. The House of Representatives voted almost exactly along party lines Wednesday to impeach Trump for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Trump was the third president in U.S. history to be impeached, and now he faces a trial in the Senate that is expected to start next month. And I quote, regarding the continuation of our dialogue till the end of Trump's presidency, you make it sound as if it's already coming to an end, Putin said, answering a question about whether Russia has a strategy for continuing the dialogue with the U.S. until the end of Trump's presidency. And I quote, I actually really doubt that it is ending. It still has to go through Senate, where, as far as I know, the Republicans hold the majority, so it's unlikely they will want to remove the representative of their party for some made-up reason. And then CNN goes into how they have some unusually warm relationship and blah, blah, blah. You know, CNN's trying to stoke division as usual. And then he goes into, this is just the continuation of the internal political battle. One party that lost the elections, the Democrats, are now trying to find new ways by accusing Trump of collusion with Russia. But then it turns out there was no collusion. This can't be the basis for the impeachment. Now they came up with some pressure on Ukraine. I don't know what is the pressure, but this is up to your congressman. And that is something that I find really interesting. And not to agree with Putin, I don't agree with any government leaders or people that run the organized crime rackets anywhere in the world. But with that said, isn't it interesting that Trump was colluding with Russia, and that was a big distraction story that pushed everything else out of the news. And then it was colluding with the Ukraine, even though Russia and the Ukraine are practically at war. It's so absurd. Trump has sent, actually, as armed rebels, Ukrainian-backed anti-Russian rebels. So that's also interesting to point out. Not something that someone, colluding with Russia would do. And on top of that, Joe Biden did the same thing, and even worse, and even bragged on video about having colluded with Ukraine in order to... Anyway, I'm not going to go into that whole thing. We've done videos on it before. It's just a giant distraction story. It's all politics. It's all nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Again, impeach him for the NDAA, for the Patriot Act, for gun seizing, or gun grabbing, for wars, for dropping bombs on kids. How about you impeach him for, I don't know, being the president in general? Because any president can technically be impeached for anything. I mean, look back, you can see that. But it's evidently politics, as this article very clearly points out. Why Pelosi plans to delay sending impeachment articles to the Senate, and Nancy Pelosi has suggested she will delay sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate in order for Democrats to build up more evidence against Trump and delay a swift acquittal. Hasn't this been going on for years now? I mean, hey, if it keeps the government from doing things and putting forward laws and, extorting people more, fine. But it's quite obvious at this point to anyone with any sort of a peanut-sized brain that this is all just politics in order to distract people, both in the media and distract people in the Senate and the Congress, etc., and stop things from actually getting done. Again, as a voluntarist, I don't want things to actually get done. I prefer the government just shut down. But with that said, it's quite obvious that that's the whole approach going on here, and it's just hilarious to watch all these people regurgitate and babble online about it. It's bread and circuses. It's bread and circuses. I was saying today on Facebook, we hear all this stuff about, the impeachment, and everyone seems, from the left and the right, have grabbed onto this obvious distraction, the bread and circuses. But meanwhile, the real question is, who shot JR? This is a reality show, folks. It doesn't mean anything. And just to add to something that I want to finish this video off with, and I think it's something that I should point out, is that Trump is going to get an advantage with this. This is helping him. It's making people be more disgusted with the Democrats and more supportive of Trump. It's exactly how he ended up winning, or selected, or whatever you want to call it. And obviously, there's some hypocrisy like all politics, because government is organized crime, and this is what it comes down to. As this Politics USA article points out, video surfaces of Trump praising Pelosi and saying president should be impeached for lying. It's all what benefits you in the moment, and that's how politics works, as long as they can grow their control complex over the populace. Meanwhile, the most important and pertinent issues that aren't being talked about, Jeffrey Epstein not killing himself. The giant child rape ring that ABC and Disney was covering up. How about the rape ring that Jimmy Savile was involved in with the royal family as well, that BBC covered up for the royal family? What about Julian Assange and his urgent medical care and the fact that he's being tortured to death right now? What about Chelsea Manning refusing to testify and being in and out of jail? What about... Look, we could go on all day. There's so many stories in the news that isn't being talked about. What about the vast printing of currency at the Federal Reserve causing people to go into vast poverty, homelessness rising, joblessness is rising, even though it's officially looks good. Look at the labor force participation rate where the numbers are truly hidden, which Stephen Moore, who was one of Trump's main economic advisors, who I interviewed last July, admitted to and conceded to. What about the fact that with all this printing that the price of living is skyrocketing and people are going broke, and the recession was never ended back in 2008 and continues to perpetuate while interest rates look towards going negative all over the world with an everything bubble that is impoverishing everyone? No, what's more important is these petty squabbles within Capitol Hill and the White House. All people vying for their power and their control over you, the masses, while distracting you with the media. This is why we need independent media, and that's why we need your help to keep us alive. So make sure to check those links below. We'll kind of go into this more. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the kitty sniffer and all that kind of stuff. We'll continue to go into it. But the most important thing is what's not being talked about in the news. That's why I need to do this story. Obviously, it's a big story, but people actually think online, by the way, that Trump already is out of office and he's no longer the president. I mean, you look at some of these tweets, it's ridiculous. So people are still enamored with their reality show bread and circuses, and it's no doubt a great way to distract the masses and make them more easily able to be controlled. So break free from that, folks. Anyway, until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, Wham! Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We cannot do it without you guys. Every donation is extremely, extremely appreciated as we're getting incredibly shadow banned. We've lost 80% of our audience since January of 2019 and counting. They are ripping us apart here on YouTube, and the only thing we could do in the meantime as we prepare for the next big step is to ask for help from the viewers that support our free information that we try to post on a daily basis. You can also find us on Subscribestar, where just $1 a month, that's all it takes, $1 a month is all it takes to truly make a huge difference. If everyone gave $1 a month, it would change everything for independent media, and we could win this information war, and we can defeat the mainstream medias eventually. And of course, on Subscribestar, we post subscriber-only content that you'll only see on Subscribestar. So make sure to pledge there, become a patron. That makes a huge difference, guys. And also, don't forget to check out our Bitcoin address below in the comments and description, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on the alternatives. We will likely be deleted by YouTube in the next 2 years. It's already happening on a vast scale, so make sure to find us on float.app. That's flote.app. at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham, W-A-M. Float.app is replacing every social media, and I mean, it's just incredible the opportunities it provides for not just creators, but for the average person who wants to get away from these nannies telling them what they can or cannot see. They plan to replace Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon. You could subscribe to us on Float and pledge with cryptocurrency. It's really innovative. We are also on BitChute at World Alternative Media, as well as so many others, Minds, PocketNet. You can find us at World Alternative Media on Instagram. There's many options. And finally, don't forget to join us at Anarchapulco 2020, the famous event, the best liberty event known to mankind, other than perhaps Anarcho Vegas 2020. There are two major events coming up that we are extremely excited about, and you can use promo code WHAM, that's W-A-M, and save 10% on your tickets to these legendary conferences. There's so many amazing people speaking there. You won't want to miss it. So make sure to support in any way you can, even if it's just sharing our videos, pressing like, pressing to be notified. Anything helps, folks. You are the change you wish to see. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.